and thank you for joining us once again for another amazing episode only on Angaza show. And being in the 21st century, we cannot neglect the reality of the mutation of technology, and this has become the main channel of dispensation of information and conversations globally. It is only the other day when the president accepted that TikTok was being used for other agendas, and to their discovery, 60% of Kenyans are on TikTok already, meaning that this can influence, this can empower, and above all, this can be misused for any agenda. With this realization, it was also very clear many people are making a lot of revenue through social media platforms. And the government came up with one conclusion that yes, it's a very big platform, but it has to be regulated. How many of us know the policies, the rules, and also the guidelines of operation when it comes to online operation? Who should be and who should not be there? How do you even make revenue, and how do you control content? In this age of parenting, many parents give their children their phones. And it looks like our children came with a software to access what we cannot access. And there is a lot of fear because sometimes whatever is online is not as regulated as what sometimes we regulate on TV. And so today we'll be having this conversation. Is a platform for you to learn and also to know how far it should be, and the policies, the guidelines, and also what matters a lot, because you can have rules and at the end of the day, you have no values. Anyway, join me in this conversation, Pastor Tim Mwangi. Today, we want to talk about the reality of the social media, looking at the policies, possibly the positive side and also the effects, and how we can control and avoid people, and especially our children, from abusing this particular platform. And with me is an amazing guest who helps the social media platform in terms of policy all over Africa, and I'll ask her to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Kasina, and thank you for having me. Happy New Year. I do family IT consulting.
Okay.
What that really means is the child is the center of what I do, but because the child does not live in a vacuum, I empower the child to be safe online and to have digital well-being, and then I equip parents to learn how to support that child to be safe on the internet space.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. I believe very few of us know that people like you exist.
Yes, but increasingly now, because it's a huge conversation, and thanks to COVID,
yes,
we are now slowly moving from being firefighters to be at least more intentional, because I think COVID found us in a space where we didn't know what to do, and handheld devices were put on our hands to make us continue coping and living. And then we didn't know after maybe classes are done what are children doing. And I think everybody who's gone through COVID, we wouldn't have survived it without the internet. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
But there were so many concerns. People were not seeing the positivity, they were just seeing the concerns because there was age inappropriate content that children are accessing. I think TVs really went low on usage, and everybody was on the phone because that was the most accessible gadget. But then now at work, what we are doing is, first, apart from creating awareness, it's just giving people the knowledge on how to, so that we can move from my child is watching age inappropriate content to how do I support my child to understand what they're watching is not good for their age, or shouting at them and making them put us away from helping them and supporting what they're experiencing on the online space.
Okay.
So ideally, that's now what we do. And working with the big tech companies as well, it's really helpful because our children are spending more time there. And I keep saying that is now their playground. Their playgrounds have become hybrid. Because if you think about it, even when they are outside kicking a ball, there's probably a screen out there. They don't want to go play outside, they're playing the video games at home. All their games are behind a screen. So we need to start also, as parents and adults, shifting our minds to understand that their generation is really different from ours. And we have to understand how they live so that we are able to appropriately equip and support their experiences.
What is the statistics? What does the numbers reveal in terms of consumption of different platforms, especially in Kenya?
Well, I think the heaviest used platform, I would say, is TikTok, followed by Instagram. They are, which is social media, TikTok and Instagram. There's obviously gaming, and I think one of the most famous games I've heard is Roblox. and I think Minecraft. Then others which are paid games are not very famous, but they're heavily used.
Okay.
So you realize that if you hear a statistic of like 44% out of 60 of youth are using a platform like TikTok, then you realize half of that usage is being used by young people rather than mature aged people.
When we say youth, what is the age demographic?
Around 13, youth globally is 13 to 24.
Okay.
It's not the way we say it in here, Kenya, under 35. So it's around 13, that is teenagers, all the way to young adults, that is 24.
So 44%.
Yes, of the 60.
Of the 60%.
Yeah.
So we are looking at almost 85%.
Yeah.
Of the total is between 13 to 24. Those are the consumers.
Yeah.
How does these platforms fully detect that this is not a minor trying to sign in?
First and foremost, now that system is really being improved every other day. The first thing first is to allow parents to understand that you have to have control over what your child is doing, because you're the one who's giving them these gadgets in the first place. Okay. So have a conversation around understanding if you're not age 13 and above, you shouldn't be on the platform. That said, because our children are just, you understand, we were once teenagers. Yes. We tried to defy boundaries and laws. Children will still sneak and try and create accounts for themselves. So when the questioning is coming in terms of age verification, there is AI that is being used to even scan your face, because there's a time you'll be told to take a selfie. With some of the platforms, take a selfie to just see how your facial muscles are. It detects, you know, certain things. You'll be told to do a voice recognition. Of course, it's not 100%, but that is just a way to curb children, to make sure that children are having what we call private by default accounts. Okay. And I'll explain what that is. But we are having a lot of AI intervention that is helping us to ensure that the people who are accessing these platforms, if they're children, they get support in terms of getting those private by default accounts. What that means is, and I'll give an example of TikTok, if a child creates an account and they're below 18, one, they do not go live, and they cannot see what is happening live. Number two, they're not discoverable. Nobody will go and search Pastor T if you're under 18 and find you. Number three, they don't have access to direct messenger. Those are things that help them be safe. Okay. So the only way your child is interacting with the platform is if we are friends and I have accepted you to be my friend. That's the only way then that circle is protected. The other thing is, and I keep saying this with a lot of love to parents and guardians, adult phones are not for children's eyes. Why? If you look at your phone right now, it is logged into an adult account. When you do give that phone to a child, they start experiencing your adult account.
So when you say adult account, by default?
By default, yours is an adult account.
Okay.
What is coming to your account is supposed to be for 18 and above.
So there are things that can pop up?
Yes.
Because I remember one day my wife saw me and she asked, "Is it nini una watch?" And I was like, "Mimi atas just zavuta."
Exactly.
So naturally, so it's like a platform where they try to parade different content, then you can now select.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so when we are having these conversations, especially with guardians, and I tell them, if you have to give your child a phone and they are within that age where they're supposed to be on social media, can they log into their account through your phone so that they are having their own experiences which are child-based, and their algorithms are being set based on their accounts, right? And there's also something that TikTok has done that is really amazing. It's called family pairing. So you're a parent whose child is on social media, you can link your account to theirs. Then you become the guardian and help them to manage content, manage screen time, because I think screen time is also something parents really struggle with.
Yes, yes.
My child is overspending their time on a certain social media platforms. From your phone, you can
deactivate.
Yes.
Yeah, because
block them, you know, remove them from the site. Yeah.
I saw a statistic that said that teenagers are spending a minimum of 6 to 8 hours on social media. And I say that's a person who is like working from 8 to 5.
Yes.
And
non-stop.
Non-stop. And when you look at that, you automatically, that's a trap for failure. Yeah. Because that time wasted is so much. Yeah. It's almost a third of their day. Yeah. That is wasted on social media.
Yeah. But it also depends on what they're consuming or what they're creating. And I think that is also the other conversation we need to really engage in, because there are children who are using these platforms mindfully and respectfully. But there are some who are just, it's one-way traffic, I'm just binging. dancing and doing the challenges. It's one-way traffic that is what I would say mindless. But there are some who are really using it properly. Some who are creating content. Some who are maybe on a platform like Pinterest. They're showcasing their creativity, their ideas, which is really, really good. And we need to be able to see how to nurture that. But of course, give them guidelines as we are doing that. So part of like the digital parenting class that we do, I really don't teach parents how to be techies because not very many parents are techies. I just teach them how to effectively communicate with teenagers. Instead of shouting, did you want to have a desirable outcome when I'm having a conversation around my child who I found watching porn, for instance? How do I start engaging my child in a way that I want them to feel safe with me instead of me pushing them away and they look for another voice that will guide them that is not based with our family values. So it's the communication, it's the approach, it's also helping the parent understand. If today I walked in and found my child watching porn, for instance, right? How did I react? How did I communicate with the child? Did I snatch the phone? Did I start yelling? Did I understand where it came from? What did the child see and what did the child understand? Did they start redistributing? Because there's a deeper conversation to have. When I'm teaching learners, some of them are telling us to remove content they've already created. Okay. So it is more than watching, because if they're recreating it, that's a deeper conversation. And when you're probing them and you're having conversations with them, the last person they want to be told is the parent, because they really don't know how the parent will react. So part of the conversation of engaging and empowering parents is, remember you were once a teenager, just in a different era. Theirs is different from what we had. But there was pornography in our time. We just had to be very intentional to look for them because it was maybe in print, right? It was not really accessible. Times have changed. So how do I bring myself to accept that it is inevitable that my child will interact with this content and start helping them in the inevitability of it?
So that means parents must be involved.
100%.
If you're not involved, the whole media world is ready to raise your child.
Yeah.
And those who are creating some contents don't care. Do you think it's possible for governments to regulate and control maybe the content being uploaded? Is it possible to have it in legal
It is
framework?
actually something I believe is in the works.
Okay.
In terms of enhancing the regulation and moderation. But I'll tell you that at the moment, we need to also self-regulate. And I know that word is really used, it's misused. Yeah. But there's a lot of self-regulation that has to come in check, because we need to start understanding that, one, the internet never forgets. Today, I might post something that I feel is funny, and let's not even use the inappropriate. I might bully somebody today, using something as simple as an emoji. I laugh because somebody is being bullied. It means that I am accepting and condoning that kind of behavior. And tomorrow in an interview, that is the one thing that will bring me down. Okay. So it is understanding the repercussions of some of the things we do. However, I know the Communications Authority is doing a lot of regulation when it comes to content. There are so many things that even don't hit the mainstream. Okay. There are some that do. The challenge has been for a very long time that there are some things that bypass moderation. Because there is human moderation, there's AI moderation. I'll give you an example of, I don't know if there's a time you remember seeing the Momo challenge, the one that was something like hypnosis, which was cartoon-like. So this Momo character, who is a cartoon-based character, was targeting the very young people. So because it is animated, was doing this hypnosis kind of thing, and was not using any progressive language that will say commit suicide. But this is like an example of what, I don't know if it is he or she was saying. Go to the kitchen, take what your mom uses to cut onions, to cut onions, place it on your wrist real hard until something red like tomato sauce pops up. I've not really told you to commit suicide, but I'm guiding you on how to do it. And you can imagine those very impressionable minds that are stuck on that, they're stuck on that screen for 10, 15 minutes, even 20, close to an hour. When they hear that thing every time, and it is hypnosis, they can actually be coached to do harm to themselves. And so it's understanding that some things, yes, we can moderate, but there are things that are seeping through the moderation because the harm is actually becoming sophisticated day by day. So you find that even though, let's say, the Communications Authority is trying to moderate what penetrates into the internet space, if it is not using some of the keywords they have put in the system, they'll still come through. that's why self-regulation is also now very important. Yeah, and then also now understanding that if I see something that is harmful to me, I can report it because I have the power to say, you're violating my privacy, you're making me uncomfortable. I'm going to report this because I don't want to be in a space where I'm feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, and that's now also what we are trying to have young people do. Block and report. Just don't block, but report.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you report now, it's possible for the page to be brought down.
Yes. Yes.
And some of these things. But I hear people have multiple accounts.
Yes.
Today you open as Pastor T,
Yes.
you bring it down. I tell guys now there is PT.
Yes.
Yes.
But also, because of the content that you're putting out, if it is in violation of any community guidelines, it will come down.
The mainstream media says, there is auditing and, before anything goes, like KBC, there's the production team that has to verify that this is true. And I've seen a lot of people using popular personalities, which I consider as, reputation damage, and they will say it is alleged. Legally, that word alleged simply means we are not saying this is it. How do we begin to protect very innocent people who are now being used to popularize other people's pages?
Actually, I believe that one of the things we're really pushing the government to do, especially the regulators, is to bring people who create those kind of defamatory words to book. Because if I see a blog post, a post or an article that is saying things that are defamatory, I report it, I need to be able to know that this action has been taken to book. And I think that's where sometimes I feel like our system kind of fails us. Yes, because we need to be able to understand that words carry a lot of weight. So we need to start having, serious repercussions taken. But I think because of the Data Protection Act that is now in play, we are seeing a lot of that. But I think it now needs to extend. When we start seeing people being fined and heavily fined, I think we'll start having caution and realizing that we also have a duty of care to other people.
Okay, we'll come to that conversation because there is a lot of online creators who are creating content by assassination. Like, you just find a senior personality and you begin to attack that personality so that you can have clicks and likes. And I believe there are very many innocent people who have suffered consequences of internet. So we want to understand if there's any legal repercussion, because so many people are going live, unatukanana, and then unaanza kusema, sikuwa najua. So look at that. Anyway, I believe you're learning wherever you are. It is the digital age. Imetupata tu vile imetupata. And many of us don't even know how to behave. Some of us are in content creation. Sometimes you don't know how far is too far, using people's images and all that. Maybe one day utakuta umejipata kwa ngori moja mbaya sana. Anyway, we'll be picking this conversation immediately after the break. So welcome back and thank you for joining us once again. We are at Zaneria Hotel and thank you for me, this is a very informative conversation because all of us, I think they said, the last statistics I read, we have more than 54 million smartphones. It could be more. That means the number of smartphones are more than the number of the population of this land. Because I think the population was almost at around 45 to 50 million. So that means simu ni mob kuliko raia. So there's a lot of content and people are online. I was surprised that my mom saw a video on TikTok. She's always on YouTube and she's past 65. That tells you almost everyone is online. I remember our former president had to quit from social media because of cyberbullying. And Kenyans are known, KOTs. Kenyans on Twitter, we don't care, we don't fear anyone. And we are fierce and very aggressive and very attackive. And we just want to understand how far is too far, because it's key to share your opinion. But when do we cross the line and we call this cyberbullying? We've seen very great personalities, some even becoming suicidal because of what we call cyberbullying. And sometimes it takes one wrong information and you find yourself trending all over Kenya and everyone sharing their opinion. And let's come to that matter. Is there a way we can regulate cyberbullying?
Well, I'll just go back to, what the law says. And you see, by the time somebody is even being brought to book, there has to be, the intention of harm. There has to be evidence and all that. And I don't think people have gone to that length for us to be able to see or to even take an example. But we have seen cases of people who've actually been pushed to have mental health issues, people who have committed suicide actually. And then there is what now people are extending to abusing even people who are not part of that conversation, like family. Yeah, we need to start looking at the mirror, and if there's a society we want to have, we need to mirror it. Because remember, I keep saying this, and you will hear me say this a lot, and I always say it in interviews. The same internet I'm using, it's the same internet my child is using, right? Our children follow us on our social media platforms, maybe not with the accounts that we know, they will create pseudo accounts. So if we are the biggest bullies, how do we expect them not to mirror us? Because we are the ones who are supposed to be creating a culture, right? We are the ones who are guiding them on how to live. Then we are the ones who are doing all these bad things. So what generation are we bringing up is the question I keep asking. Because if it is regulation, believe me, Pastor, we are over-regulated as a country. Over-regulated.
On matter social media.
Yeah, we are over-regulated. If you look at the Cybercrime Act, we have so many regulations. I feel if we get more, it will be such a strain even on the people who are giving us services.
So can we say we have a value issue?
We have a value-based issue.
And that's
we have to go back to the basics.
That's where the church comes in.
Yes.
Do you think the church is playing its role? When you look at social media,
I think the church is playing safe.
It's playing safe.
Yeah.
When you say safe,
adults who are given big platforms, like a politician who will take a microphone and start abusing people on a pulpit.
Okay.
And the church doesn't really come out strong. And when they do come out, it is in very low tone because we don't want to be politically incorrect in that. Yeah.
Could it be because of the attack sometimes?
Yeah. You know, with cyberbullying, you could decide to be a defender of cyberbullying. Then you will end up being bullied yourself.
Yes.
And I think also as human beings, we need to see how to protect ourselves. And there's also that element where if I'm seeing somebody being harassed, do I help them? Because if I'm seeing your character being assassinated, I really do know you. Do I come out and say, no, this is not his character.
Yeah.
This is allegations, this is false. Because if I do that, what will happen? I will put myself on that chopping board with you.
Okay.
Yeah, and people now feel, do I just watch as his character is assassinated, or do we rely on what is famous with Kenyans? Another scandal will come and we shall forget very quickly and move on. And then now we forget actually what that incident really did to that person.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
so
then there's that group called I'm Here at the comment section.
I'm here at the comment
Waiting
section,
to
yes. Yeah, that the emoji parades, but then also the people who just follow or silently take screen grabs and start resharing that information because you don't want to be publicly seen that you commented or you reacted, but you're busy there perpetrating the allegations through WhatsApp, through other platforms.
What are some of the things that you feel Kenyans need to know that, hey, hapa, you act ignorantly, but if someone knows they're right, actually they can take legal action?
So if I give my details, for instance, coming into these premises, I did give my number, and I find that number has been shared without my consent, you're violating my rights, right? And it is the simple things of misusing data, because sharing data. Sometimes parents do this a lot. Children are going to school like this season, and you're feeling good because you've taken your child to school and you start posting their photos with their school uniform, with the logo. With the uniform is then the logo is very visible, because that can also become a security risk, right?
Okay.
Yeah. You imagine right now everywhere we have CCTV cameras. So how do you get information from CCTV cameras and how do you use that information? Yeah. So some of these things we really need to start taking into account, how we access, how we distribute, and how we consume other people's data. Consent is something very, very important.
Okay.
So if people don't understand, it is the simple things. I was taking a video with you, and I'm like, by the way, I really loved this video or photo we took. Can I share it on my platform? Can I tag you? If you say no, I should be able to put an emoji on your face, you know, and or maybe not share that publicly. And those are the simple things. But also just if you look at the act, and I keep telling people, ignorance is never an excuse. We are over-regulated, over-regulated. So we need to start looking at which are the possible areas within my interaction with the internet am I likely to breach law? So most of us, it is through education platforms. Like, I'll give an example. The other day, KCSE results are being released, and maybe you have an index number of someone, and you want to check without consent, you start posting it. Yeah. Because I was an alumni of a certain school, and I get the credentials of the people who did exams. I want to congratulate the school that I was in, but you don't watermark or you don't blur the names of the students,
Okay.
you're actually breaching data confidentiality.
Wow.
So we need to start thinking within yourself if it is, and especially to platforms. I keep saying, so you use a rider or you use a platform for food delivery and you want to exit out of that platform. You don't want to use it anymore.
Yeah.
How do they destroy your data?
Okay.
Do we ask? And those are some of the things that are in providence in the law, so that at least we're able to know, I want to opt out of this platform. They have my critical data. How do I manage that process?
Some parents are not tech savvy, you know, like they know nothing about how to deal with technology. And some of their children are so much on these platforms and very much deep in it. How do we begin to salvage and how do we create awareness? Like I will tell you, majority of those who watch KBC, majority of them possibly they are just hearing this. Wanaonanga mtoto na simu na wako sawa, labda ana revise. How do we begin to help them?
The first thing I always tell parents is, if it's possible, take an inventory of the gadgets that are accessible to your child. If once you take an inventory, maybe like do a quick math in your house, then ask yourself, among the 5-10 gadgets I have, which ones are shared and which ones are individual to my child? That's step one, because at least you'll be able to know if it's a phone, it's portable, it can go to the toilet. But if it's a TV, they can't keep carrying it, it's not portable. So are there portable devices, are there not portable devices? That's one. Then number two, start looking at, I keep telling parents, be interested in what your child is interested in. That is how you get to the level to understand. If you hear your child is saying, I was playing Roblox, what is Roblox? Because us, we used to play Kati and Bladder. That is not online. So let them teach you their new games, because as I said earlier, their playground has not gone hybrid. So if you hear certain words being used in the house, please be inquisitive. We say children are curious. I also tell parents, be curious as well. Be inquisitive to find out which platforms your child wants to be. So talking to them about social media, I want to be on TikTok. Why? For instance, why? We just opened Instagram the other day. Why TikTok? Then let them give you the ideas of why TikTok. Are you able to do one platform at a time? And this is about being intentional. Like I said, you have to be intentional with them. And when they decide they're getting into one platform, have you read the community guidelines yourself so that you're able to interpret what it says? Do you know what the law also demands of us as users, so that you are able to tell your child, by the way, they raised the age of criminal liability for a child to 13, I believe, just the other day. So even they can be held into account. So having those kind of conversations with them is very, very important. The third thing I always tell parents, these are the simple things. Look at the community your child hangs out with. Okay. I might have put all security in my house. I have firewalls, I have software, I have blocked sites. My child goes to play at the playground with your child. There's a phone there. There's a possibility that they will consume. And I keep telling parents, if your child has an account, it's an Instagram account or it's a TikTok account, all they need to get is a computer or a device, log in, get into the account. They don't, if you've confiscated the phone, it's okay. They'll go to the nanny. They'll go to the guard.
That's cool.
Anywhere where there is access to a device, they will still access their devices. So hang around with people who share the same values. If not, start having intentional conversations with the people who hang around with your friends, with your child. And I keep saying, if a new name comes into the house, date that parent. Just get to find out, by the way, what are your values? What are you bringing to the table? Get to know what I'm bringing to the table. And it's not about being technical. It's about supporting your child's experience. Should they find themselves on the other side, how do you support them? It should be with love. Because remember, you were once a teenager, you also didn't have a perfect upbringing. So when you have empathy, when you have understanding and you have love, you're able to help them through that space. I always say, and especially when you find children have crossed what I call the boundary, and when it comes to like things like pornography and stuff like that, when you help that child, start also empowering them to help the community that they live with. Because peers, your children will listen to their peers more than they listen to us. So when you empower a few, they will go and empower the rest at the playground, they will empower the rest at the school, they become champions of the space that they're in. And I think those are some of the things we really, really need to have. This week, actually, as a company, we started having a conversation on how parents can equip their house managers to manage safety
Okay.
Because house managers spend a lot of time with children, more than we do.
And some of them on TikTok.
Actually, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you might be somewhere and then you start seeing your photos in the house trending on a video. And I think that is a conversation we should have.
Yeah.
Because is it that they don't have access to smartphones? They do. So how do I bring my house manager to understand these are our values, these are our rules, and when my children are in the house, guide them in this way. And it's the simple things. Put the number 116 on the fridge. Because if your child is feeling uncomfortable, they call that number. It's a toll-free Kenyan line. It's the child helpline.
Okay.
Somebody will help them.
Okay.
If your nanny knows and your child knows and you're not there, you know, the problem, haitangoja, they can get help.
Yes.
Some other things I also tell parents, these are tips. I tell parents, teach your child how to pre-screen content, for instance. They want to watch this movie that has just come out of the big screen. And there's a site called commonsensemedia.org.
Okay.
What that site does, it will tell you what this movie is themed around. Does it have vulgar language? And if it does, it will tell you what kind of vulgar language, what is the age appropriateness of it, what is the theme.
Common sense?
commonsensemedia.org. It's a free website.
So anything you want to watch, you just...
Games, videos.
So it kind of tells you now, this is good, this is not good.
Actually, it doesn't tell you that. It gives you a breakdown of what the movie is. And then at the bottom, it actually says what parents can talk to their kids about.
Wow.
So for instance, if it is a movie that you've been watching that is very violent, it actually prompts you as a parent to ask your children, what do you think about violence?
Okay.
You get. So you're not really telling the child, don't go watch.
Okay.
Because when you tell them, don't go watch, they will go and watch.
Look for it, yeah.
But you're prompting them to think deeply about the thematic movie, the themes that are being projected in the movie. So we need to start also having that empowerment. And you're empowering them so that when you are not with them, because you're not always with them,
yes,
they take that responsibility.
Okay.
Why? I tell them in class that even when you're generating inappropriate content, at the end of the day, you take responsibility. Your parents will feel bad, we will feel bad for you, but somebody will use that 5 years from now, 10 years from now to deny you an opportunity, to bully you, to silence you, to blackmail you. But who gave them that ammunition? You. By just clicking next, right? So we need to start empowering them so that they realize this tool that you're being given, which is a privilege, because giving your children phones is a privilege. Don't misuse it. Use it responsibly. But we also have to put on the shoe and teach them how to use these platforms and so we have to be the ones first and foremost to us using platforms responsibly. So
what I'm hearing is the major role of parents is to create a value base. Yes. That without the laws will never introduce values. No. That's exactly what you're saying. You know, I like what you've said, internet never forgets. I remember there was, in the last regime, a lady lost an opportunity to be in the Ministry of Environment because of a tweet she had addressed concerning the Nairobi National Park. And that tweet was used against her. And that's how
being used.
Yes. And that is how she lost that particular opportunity. So I think it's key for a generation to understand that indeed internet does not forget. Now, maybe what I'll ask is your details. You know, the conversation cannot end. I know there's also so much benefit online. People are making millions. Many young people have generated content that is attracting a lot of revenue. Maybe you can leave us with your details so that anyone who wants to pursue, they can know.
Well, on social media, we are under Eve Minet Communications.
Eve Minet.
Yes. Okay. Our website, actually I'll give the website because the website has everything on there. eveminet.co.ke.
Okay.
There's so many resources. If you're a parent, there are resources for parents. If you're a guardian, there are some for guardians. Then there are the questions, the frequently asked questions by, you know, the common person.
Okay.
What is online safety? How can I do this? If you want to like keep your child safe on certain platforms, all those step-by-step instructions are on the website.
Are you on TikTok?
I am on all platforms except Discord.
And
all platforms except Discord.
Okay, thank you. You know, there are people who give a lot of advice on these things and they've not even experienced it. So at least I know you're speaking from a place of experience. Anyway, that is that. I think what has come out very clearly. You know, no matter how many laws we write, technology will keep on evolving. At the end of the day, is the value base that we are building that will determine how best our children uses whatever is availed to them. And I believe we've not yet seen what technology is about to become. AI will shift everything we ever thought about technology. Anyway, that was at our time, and I want to appreciate our guests for that amazing insight. And the conversation is not over. You can continue it and, just benefit from it. From here, we meet at the Crossroads segment. My name is Pastor Tim Wangi, and this is the Crossroads segment. An Asian story is narrated about the Chinese wall, and they say China wanted to protect their community, and so they built a very big wall. And when they tested the wall, indeed, there was no military or enemy that could access the wall. But they say it was after building the wall that they were attacked 3 times, and they lost the battle because the people at the gate were compromised by their enemies. And they say this is life. Sometimes we build very big walls of protection, but we forget the most important wall that will protect our people is the wall of values. And when I look at our nation, we have very good policies. We have very good laws that try to protect our community. But our main problem is the value system. Remember, we can have all these tall walls, but without values, whatever we are raising is not even going to be sustainable. When you look at the Bible, we are given of 2 examples. There was a young man by the name of Jacob with a brother also by the name of Esau. And their contention was a contention of their value system. Esau came back home very hungry, and he looked at his birthright. Remember, the birthright was the key to inheritance. But because of appetite and hunger, he said, you know what is this birthright for? But Jacob understood what a birthright is. And he said, give me your birthright and I'll give you a plate of lentils. In fact, in Kenyan language, nindengu. So what happened is that there was a transaction between a birthright and ndengu. You can imagine selling your destiny for ndengu. And later, when the father was blessing the children, he needed the one that had the birthright, because the birthright became the key to the blessing. Sometimes there are things we hold onto. They don't look like they're making sense, but it is only a matter of times that the very values people have neglected will become the keys that open very major doors in our destiny. Remember, internet never forgets. Even this video will be live on internet, and internet will never forget to remind you that internet never forgets. Pastor Tim Wangi is my name. See you next time. This is an area hotel, and I want to appreciate the KBC family and also the amazing production team for always making this possible for us to come to you live. Till next Saturday, see you then.